We are very excited about today's show, and before we begin, we got Jessie Ledoux with our product feature of the week. So Jessie, tell us what you got for us.
Stephen, we get emails all the time about people that are looking for pageant earrings specifically because they go to their local stores, they're finding really cute earrings, but they're really either not big enough, bright enough, unique enough to translate to areas of pageant competition. So I get the struggle. I want everyone to know that we have a huge assortment of pageant earrings on our Pageant Planet shop.
Yeah, I mean, pageant earrings are one of those things where if you have a really unique dress, right, and you don't have the right earring to go with it, and it's like, it's not like you can just go to, Macy's or something like that to find something like this. I mean, a lot of times it's very specialized, and yeah, we've got a big selection. So why don't you kind of give us the gamut of maybe some of the different people that we cover, different styles, different price points, and just how it all works.
So we have literally everything in our store. We have a combination of more casual interview style earrings, so different color selections, somewhere between 2 and 3 inch, fairly simple. So that way it'll draw attention to your face, but it won't be distracting. And those are often with colored stones, et cetera. It's a lot of fun. But we also have gym ball earrings, which are all made with Swarovski crystals. So they sparkle like no other on stage, which is so important to catch the light in the right way. We have some that are between 4 and 5 inches. That way you will absolutely not get lost in the crowd. Some people say the girl with the biggest earrings wins the pageant. I don't necessarily tend to disagree with that statement, so keep that in mind. But everything from like your casual fun earrings for either your interview outfit or your appearances to your very dramatic clear or AB stone. We have gold tone, we have silver tone, etc. Something that will be able to be translated across the board and you can wear several times over.
Yeah, and if you like a certain style, we have them in a lot of different colors too, which if you click through, you can see them a lot of different colors. So, all right, where can they find them and just kind of give them the scoop of, all that details?
So they can find them by visiting, very simply, shop.pageantplanet.com. There's a range of prices too. We have, like we said, very high-end Swarovski crystal earrings, but also more fashion earrings that are just made to be, so they're looking for one outfit at a time or so. So something for everyone. So if you're just looking for a niche pair, take a look. You'll probably find something that will interest you.
Okay.
Welcome to Pageant Planet's podcast, where we share stories and strategies to help expand and connect the global pageant community. Visit pageantplanet.com to find pageants, hire coaches, shop for dresses, and more. Now, here's your host, Stephen Roddy.
Welcome to another episode. Today, Jessie Ledoux and myself, we are going to be discussing the makeup techniques that you must know to compete in pageantry. So Jessie, set the stage for us.
Well, I don't think it's any surprise that one of the most fun parts of competing in pageantry is getting all dolled up. And that includes hair, gown, and of course, makeup. And pageant makeup is truly an art for those who have learned how to master it.
Yeah, I mean, I always am so impressed with the things that girls can do with makeup. When I see Renata, the time that it takes, the amount of tools and resources, because I mean it can be expensive, the learning curve and all that, it's intense. And throwing on the intensity of a competition too on top of all that, I am always super impressed. Equally as impressed as when girls can walk up and down stairs in heels.
Yeah, I'm still working on that. But for those of us who haven't fully mastered makeup, it can be a major stressor on competition day. So first, there are questions for what's the best type of makeup to wear and how you should wear it. And then the second stressor is the challenge of how to apply it if you don't plan to use the services of a professional come pageant day. So it can be a lot of pressure to try and execute a look when you're already stressed and nervous.
Yeah, and there's also that divide, right? It's kind of between what's successful on stage during a pageant versus what's successful off stage, in the interview room, because there's a difference there versus how does pageantry relate to the overall beauty industry. And I mean, the current trends look amazing in an editorial spread, but then they could be really off-putting for a judge or even distracting, if you do something, well, I'm saying air quotes, wrong.
I'm glad you said that, because a lot of contestants that are new to the pageant industry will use red carpet looks as their inspiration, which is a great starting point to learn your makeup techniques. But we have to remember that those celebrities are on a red carpet, so they're getting flash bulbs, they're getting really tight camera shots, and they're getting TV shots as well. Whereas in the pageant world, you're likely going to be several tens of feet away from your judges with crazy stage lighting, not natural lighting, not camera flashes, etc. So it doesn't always translate.
Yeah, and I can remember first getting into the industry and seeing the girls on stage, and then seeing them after and seeing like just how thick their makeup was and how thick their eyelashes were. I'm like, wow, you look totally different up close. I mean, on stage, it looked amazing, right? But up close, you could just see the layers of it. And if you were to take that inside the interview room, that just would not translate well at all.
Not at all. Absolutely. So today we're going to discuss strategies that work and answering key questions for those who are currently indecisive.
Okay, so let's go ahead and also, since we have a large international audience, let's go ahead and just talk internationally too, if these trends vary versus international, right? So what's your first strategy that you've got for us?
So the first strategy is a classic smoky eye. And this is so safe across the board, no matter where you live, what your system, what your complexion, etc. And we were inspired to share this point with you by one of our Instagram followers. Steven, you want to share the comment?
Yeah, so it's from Geneva_convention_. So I love doing taupe smoky eyes with big falsies that really highlight my eyes and make them pop.
So I think when people think smoky eye initially, their mind usually goes directly to a really dark and black-based style. Steven, do you think that as someone who's really not entrenched in makeup?
Yeah, completely. And I mean, it's one, the word smoky, right? And two, that's what is most popularized. When it first came onto the scene, that's what I feel like everybody did. Yeah.
It was very dark, very heavy, very bold. However, I think in the evolution of makeup, smoky refers instead to a style of applications. You can do a smoky in just about every color of the rainbow. And right now we're seeing it in pinks and purples in the fashion world and in the YouTube world. However, like Geneva says, executing this look with brown tones, taupe tones, etc., can have the same dramatic appearance without looking too harsh. So instead of using darker colors, just pack on the pigment of the lighter hues. So you're just making sure that you have all of the color payoff with all of the different colors and tones you're using.
Yeah, and I do like it because it adds that dimension, a bit of a flair there. Now, on levels of difficulty, if a listener has never done a smoky eye, let's say from 1 to, you could do this in the sleep, to 10, it's highly complex. What would you rank it for a newbie?
Well, I would say there's different levels of a smoky eye. My regular everyday workwear smoky eye. And it sounds funny to say I wear a workwear smoky eye, but I'm using very, very light brown tones. It just creates dimension. That I would say is a 3, because I'm rushing in the morning. I'm not using my best products. I'm just grabbing whatever I can find to run out the door. It's just a matter. I only use 2 colors in my everyday smoky. And I use the darkest color in the corner and into about halfway in the crease. And then I use a lighter tone all over the crease. And I did that backwards. I usually do the lighter tone in the crease first, and then I accent with the darker in the corner. So for me, that is a 3. Anybody can master that. When you're looking at adding additional tones in that smoky, like a highlighter on the inner corner, maybe a lighter metallic on the base of your eye, a highlight under the brow, there are different levels of complexity. Once you really start to master the application techniques, I would say it's probably your standard. So you'd probably, once you practice, you can say it's probably a 6.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this, because the listeners, obviously it's an auditory, educational, so that they can Google an image if they're just not familiar with it. But as far as tools, what do you use tools-wise?
Tools-wise, again, if I'm using my everyday, which is the most basic, I have 2 different brushes. And again, I want to preface this. I am not a professional makeup artist. I've had no professional makeup training. I am from the school of YouTube and pageantry. So that's where I get my goods. So I will say, if you really are interested in mastering this, go to our directory and search for makeup artists and see if you can find one that will give you a Skype lesson and give you the foundation from the start. And no pun intended with the word foundation. So I think the most important tool for a smoky is a blending brush. because if you are doing a smoky eye on the corners of your eye, it is so important that you don't look like you have like a perfectly round circle on your edges. Blending is the key for a smoky eye. So blending brushes, you cannot have enough because you're going to be playing with different tones. You don't want to use your dark tone blending brush the same time in the same way you're using a light one, because you don't want those colors to mix and mingle. So blending brushes, above and beyond, a million of them.
Okay, great. All right. Well, what's your next strategy that you have for us, or the next technique rather?
So the next technique is to work your coloring. And again, inspired by our Instagram following. Stephen, why don't you take it?
Okay, this is from Danielle.Stanfield. She says, pink/nude lips is my go-to, exclamation point. So it really is her go-to. I don't like to be super matchy when it comes to makeup. I usually do a natural or a neutral eye, usually with a mauve color in it, because I have hazel eyes and it really makes them pop.
Oh, love this. So it's no secret that we are all born with different complexions and undertones. And when we say undertones, we've talked about this numerous times in the podcast. It's when you find what color your skin tone is. And it's like a matter of whether you have blue undertones or yellow undertones, etc. And again, you can find all this information by just searching beauty blogs and Google. And I think we have a makeup course with that information on it as well. It's like
an ultimate guide, 100 pages, and it deals with all different complexion types, talks about tools. I'll include it in the show notes, a link to it.
Oh, perfect idea. Thank you. So that means like a lip or eye color that looks good on last year's winner may not necessarily look right on you, which is a big issue in the pageant industry. Newbies will copy exactly what they saw be successful in the previous year, but we are all so different from each other that usually it doesn't equate success when you're trying to do that. So for example, if someone like Danielle had mauve in her eye color or eye color for her makeup, might not look good on someone with brown eyes. It might be too close in complexity, etc. So you have to figure out what works best for you. And practicing with a variety of colors is how you do that.
Okay, so if someone's confused about eye color, and I know there's a lot of different tests, etc., that you can run, what's kind of a quick hack that you have if someone just doesn't know?
So there's a couple different things. I would say step one is to pick a celebrity with similar coloring to you. So I think you can kind of mirror in someone else. You see who like has similar, like they look good in the same colors as you, if they have similar hair color, eye color, etc. So I want you to collect pictures of them and their makeup looks that you think would translate well to the pageant stage. So that's part one. So spend some time on Pinterest, spend some time looking up photos, etc. And then I want you to head either to the makeup counter or your favorite makeup artist and ask them to suggest comparable products and shades that are a similar fashion to them. And that way, you know, like, okay, these are going to translate to me because they look good on this person that kind of resembles me.
Yeah. And okay, walk through, because I've been to the makeup counter several times with Renata. I actually find it like it's a learning experience for me to like things with this. And so I sit there with her while she's getting her makeup done and I ask the expert questions. So I think it's really interesting. Mm-hmm. My capacity to retain that information, because I don't have a really great foundation, is weak, but over time, I think I'll get better. But for someone that's never had that kind of experience of sitting down at the MAC makeup counter, can you walk through a little bit of what the expectation is? Do you have to pay to do that? Are you allowed to sample different products, etc.?
Sure. So MAC, you do need to pay for a makeup application. I will say both Sephora and Ulta have some pretty great opportunities to interact with makeup products. And here's how. So Sephora and Ulta both have like stations on the end of each aisle that have makeup remover, Q-tips, applicator brushes, etc., that you can use for a one time to like do a swatch of a color on your hand if you want to kind of see how it looks initially. And then both places also allow the option for what they call like a mini makeover. So like you say, okay, I want to get this foundation, but I really don't know how to apply it best. Could you show me how to apply it? And you're only asking for one area. You're not like looking for a full face application of makeup. They will guide you through how to use that. So, or if you're going to get a palette of eye colors that have 5 different colors, I really don't know how best to use this. They will show you live for free how to best use those products, which is huge. And again, like many of them have like experience much like us, like trial and error, etc. So they will be able to work with you and answer those questions. in kind of a similar fashion, I know with Sephora, if you commit to a $50 purchase, they will do your whole face for free. So it's great to say, okay, I need a makeover. Can you do it? And then suggest products and like show them photos of what you're looking for. And then afterwards you say, okay, I really love how this foundation looks. Like, where is it? How much is it? What's my shade, etc. And then you can buy right then and there. So you can like really build your makeup bag from scratch if you have no idea where you're starting from.
Yeah. And if you think about it from their perspective, it's money well spent, time well spent to teach you, the person in their chair, how to use their makeup, their tools, because there's a higher probability that you're going to come back with what you're already familiar with and what you already know how to use. One of the things that I would suggest to our listeners is before you do that, this is what I do whenever I'm going to meet any kind of expert. I know I'm going to be at a luncheon with them, etc. I take some time before I go there and I jot down in my phone specific questions that I want to ask him or her about like how to do X amount, like in my business or in my marketing. And the same can be very applicable for when you're getting your makeup done. Like, know what kind of problem areas that you're having, and be preemptive, have those questions written down and get all of your questions answered, because that $50 like guaranteed product purchase, or if you've committed to buying a $50 product and you get that tutorial, you bring 5 or 6 questions that can completely change your makeup game.
Oh, and I'll even extend that further. I think that's a perfect point. And for me, like I've gone in, I'm like, I can't seem to fully conceal my under eye area. Like, it's just not bright as bright as I want it to be. It's not as smooth as I want it to be. But I know I have the best concealer out there, and I know I have the best foundation out there. So she like snapped her fingers and like, she's like, I'll be right back. And she like hustled away. And then she brought over this like under eye brightening cream. So it wasn't necessarily makeup. It was a skincare part of my routine that I hadn't been using. And I used it like, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need this without changing one thing of the makeup I already had. This made a difference. So to your point, starting with what you want to accomplish in your questions helps them figure out what they need to look for specifically for you. So don't be afraid to be vocal. Don't be shy. Like, it's your learning experience.
Yeah. And do you mind if I share something about dark under eye circles?
No, by all means.
Yeah. So like Renata, she is like struggled with this, and she's like, I tried every type of makeup and it didn't work for her because they were so dark, and it's like hereditary thing. So she, since we have the medical spa that's located here in Boston, she learned that you can put filler in between your, like right in that area. And what it does is it creates a little separation gap, because the darkness is something like your skin is falling kind of like too close to, I don't know, the blood vessels or something.
Yes,
there, right?
That is my problem.
Yeah, so you put a little filler right there, and it creates a separation, and it really lightens. I mean, I saw a noticeable difference in her without makeup. So it was to the point where she never left the house without makeup because of those. And now she goes to work sometimes without makeup, because, I mean, her skin's beautiful anyways. She just didn't like how her under eye circles were. So she put some filler in there. Naturally, like we do filler at the spa, whatever. But so she couldn't inject herself. So she had one of her other injector friends, like injector. And sounds
like superheroes.
Yeah. Yeah, they really are. They all get together and like at each other's spa, and then they will inject each other and share different tips and strategies. It's a cool little network of people. But it was a noticeable difference, and I wanted to share, because I know that that's one area that she struggled with, and she had tried to buy the most expensive thing. She tried to like a lot of different strategies, and this really worked for her.
Oh, that's great.
Yep. Okay.
Thanks for sharing.
All right. So what's the next strategy or technique that you got for us? And the last one, I guess.
Yeah. So the third is so it's a question. It's too bold or not too bold. That is the question. So Stephen, how do you feel about a bold red lip? Both so tell me how you feel about it on the pageant stage, and then how you feel about it off the pageant stage.
Okay. So on the pageant stage, I don't mind it at all, because the boldness doesn't seem like as bold. Off the pageant stage, I'm not as crazy about it. Like when Renata wears it, she has Kylie Jenner's lip, and she loves it. I'm not as big a fan of that one as I am more of the more of the neutral base lipstick in real life in front of my face.
Oh, we are opposite believers.
Yeah. All right.
I love a red lip in person. I feel like it really makes a statement. It draws attention really well. On the pageant stage, I feel like it can come on really strong. So depending on your personality, it can work for or against you. But you do make a good point with at least it like not getting lost in the stage light. So we'll address that. So when you see your favorite celebrities on the red carpet or at special events, we often see them take chances with their makeup. Like we already mentioned, like the pink smoky eyes, the purple smoky eyes, etc. They might do a really simple eye look with a bold red lip. They might do a really dark smoky eye and add a pop of color on their lash line, like a blue or a silver, etc. Both of these look amazing, but remember your goal is to look your best on stage. This means the intensity of your look should be consistent from eyes to lips. And granted, to Stephen's point, we have seen Miss Universes win with a bold red lip. And I think Stephanie Fernandez, does that sound familiar, Stephen, that name? She was like third of the Miss Venezuelas.
Yeah. And I feel like the one that I thought of was Nia Sanchez. She had the red dress, and didn't she have a bold red lip?
I don't feel like she did.
No?
Let me do
Okay.
a quick search. Let's do a quick search.
Well, I could be misremembering, but okay.
We have to find out. Okay,
All right.
anyway. So to be honest, for the vast majority of contestants, a neutral pink is far more successful. And the reason being is judges don't have a lot of time to evaluate how they feel about you. If they're shocked by the red color or caught off guard, maybe it's the wrong red for you, that will likely work against you and your scoring. And I don't want to like always root for the safe bet. I think those that listen know that I am new school pageant. I like people to take chances. But makeup is one area where I feel like tried and true strategies always prevail. So when I say tried and true, I mean a neutral smoky, a neutral cheek, and a neutral lip just to enhance your natural coloring really is successful. You don't want to go too nude in your lip because like Stephen said, those lights will wash you out. But something that has a little bit of a rosiness without taking over. What do you think, Stephen? Now that you've heard my explanation.
No, that makes total sense to me. And Nia Sanchez did not wear a bold red lip as Mr.
Boom. Roasted.
Hey, I defer to your pageant trivia way beyond mine. It is.
Well, and Nia is one of those examples where I say, like, people like, well, if coaching clients are wearing a red dress and they want to match a red, I think that sticks in my mind because I know in the past I've said, Nia Sanchez wore this incredible red dress. She did not match her lips to it. She stuck with neutral so that like she was able to still maintain a softness of her presence. We talked about this when we did the color analysis, Stephen, actually.
Yeah.
Where like she still wanted to maintain that soft and wholesome look, but showed she could do sex appeal with a red dress. So it just depends on what your natural aura is and what your goal is on stage. But no judgment, Stephen. You've had to watch a lot of pageants, and it's a lot of information.
You're kind, but really, like in this area, I mean, you far supersede me, and that is totally okay. We all have our skill sets. Okay, so if you're going to summarize this episode for the people listening, how would you do that? Land the plane for us.
It's kind of a long summary, but it's still a summary. Yeah. But the first part I want to say is take the time to practice makeup on a very regular basis. There are so many resources available that there is like no excuse not to know the basics. So find a makeup artist on YouTube or find a makeup artist on our Pageant Planet directory that will give you a lesson so you can start fresh and strong. One of my greatest pet peeves is a contestant who has a professional makeup artist and they do their makeup at the pageant, but they can't replicate even close to that for personal appearances. So that doesn't really touch our 3 tips, but that is just like to reinforce, don't rely on professional ability on the day of your pageant. Really make sure these skills are honed on your own. And then lastly, with that said, set time once a week to pick out an area of makeup to practice and start honing your skills and learning what colors work best for you. So one week, maybe it's you want to learn to apply contour. The next week, it's to perfectly line your lips. The next week, it's brows. Whatever it is, just make sure you are able to like really get into the finer nitty gritty details of how to successfully apply makeup for you. So that's my summary: is take it into your own hands and practice, practice, practice.
Yeah, and this skill set, I mean, it'll carry with you all throughout your career. I mean, job interviews, as you said, like appearances, etc. And that's where somebody like at a MAC or a Sephora makeup counter can really help, like show you how to wear your makeup for interview. But our directory of experts, pageant experts, can show you what's going to really look good on stage. And there is that noticeable difference. So awesome. Well, when this podcast was recorded, we were fresh off the heels of International Women's Day. And we want to take the time to celebrate all of the incredible and strong women that listen to this podcast, women like yourself. And we are not afraid, and who are not afraid to let their voices be heard. So thanks again for listening. And if you've received any benefit from this show or for ones previous, please consider giving us a 5-star review. It may seem like a small action, but it really does help us keep the show going.
Want to become a part of pageant history? Create a free contestant or business profile on PageantPlanet.com to unlock hidden features and connect with other experts throughout the world.